Good afternoon, dear students. Namaskar. You all are watching us on eVidya channel number 9 and our YouTube channel NCRT Official. And I am Kusum Prasad. Dear students, ये हमारा खास सत्र है जिसका नाम है टीचिंग लर्निंग इंटरवेंशन फॉर इंक्लूसिव क्लासरूम्स। इसमें हम बात करते हैं समावेशी शिक्षा की, ताकि सभी बच्चे एक साथ पढ़ें, समझें और जानें। और आप अपने टेलीविज़न स्क्रीन्स पर देख रहे हैं साइन लैंग्वेज इंटरप्रेटर, इनका नाम है मिस दीपाली भूषण। ये पूरे सत्र को साइन लैंग्वेज के माध्यम से आप सभी को इस चैप्टर को समझाएंगी। दीपाली, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत। नमस्कार। So dear students and learners, this session is for class 9 students and the subject we are going to take is English, and the chapter is chapter 5, The Snake and the Mirror. And to teach this subject, our today's expert is Mr. Sharvdat Anand sir. Sir, you are welcome in this session. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sir is Assistant Professor, Special Education, Manav Rachna University. So, sir will tell you about this chapter, what all in this chapter. So, dear students, इससे पहले कि हम आज का सत्र हम स्टार्ट करें, हम बता देते हैं हमारे विभिन्न माध्यम कौन कौन से हैं. So, dear students and learners, you can contact us on our phone number, that is 8800440559. And you can also email us on our email ID, that is dth.class9@ciet.nic.in. And apart from this, you can also drop your messages, your question, your feedback, any queries on our YouTube channel, that is NCRT Official. So students, let's begin this session and we move to our expert. Sir, the chapter The Snake and the Mirror, what all is in this chapter, sir?
See, as we can make out from the title only, the snake and the mirror, it is generally it is dealing with an animal and a mirror. So now what is the writer trying to tell us? Basically, this chapter is a chapter which deals with the writer describing something which happened in his real life. So he is telling the story to someone. Okay. He is in a conference, or it is not clear in the chapter. He is sitting somewhere and he is describing the incident that happened with him to an audience. So there he describes the incident that had happened with him when he was a bachelor and he had just graduated from his MBBS.
Okay.
So now moving on. So when we are starting the chapter, what we can do is to give students a little insight of the chapter, or to give them, to make the chapter interesting, we can show them this picture. So we can ask them, what is this picture? The students will curiously, they will answer, it is a mirror. So then what the teacher can do is that the teacher can tell them, yes, it is a mirror, and our today's chapter is also dealing with this. So likewise, we can connect the dots and we can start, the teacher can start the chapter. So now, for specifically for students who are visually impaired, what we can do is we can introduce this sound.
Snake sound.
So by introducing this sound, what we can do is we can ask the students, what is the sound?
We can play one more time.
Yes. So by playing this sound in the classroom, what we can do is the students can listen to the sound who are visually impaired, and they can make out, yes, that it is a sound of a snake. And when they make out that it is a sound of a snake, what we can do is we can tell them, yes, it is a sound of a snake, and the chapter which we today are going to study deals with snake also. And to make it a little more interesting, what we can do is, like I have added a photo of rat.
Okay.
So by adding the photo of rat, what we can do is that we can ask the students that whom does a rat eat? So the students can, they will take wild guesses that the snake hunts the rat. When they come to the snake, what the teacher can do is that teacher can also increase the students' creativity and their imagination. So there are two ways of introducing the chapter, which I have told in this thing. So now moving on to the chapter. So this story is the the person, he's a writer himself, and he's a homeopathic doctor.
Okay.
So he is a doctor, and he's just I told in the beginning also, he has just completed his MBBS, and the incident happened at that point. And when the incident happened, as he was here, he has just become a doctor, he became a little arrogant. He was very he became a little selfish, that yes, I have become a doctor, I am everything. So, and there the chapter starts, and there he tells us that one hot summer, he was it was night time, and he was sitting in his room, he was thinking about something, and suddenly he had an encounter with a snake.
Okay.
There we see that the first time that the writer is trying to tell us about how he encountered the snake.
Okay, so sir, you have mentioned that about the homeopathic doctor. So we want to know that in an inclusive classroom, how will you explain our special our students about the homeopathic doctor and an allopathic doctor?
Yes, it is a very important question, because even the adults have a difficulty in understanding the difference between an allopathic doctor and a homeopathic doctor. So what we can do is that because they are students of class 9, so to make them understand the difference, what we can do is, if possible, we can bring two doctors, one is a homeopathic doctor and one is an allopathic doctor, and we can give them a visual representation. Secondly, what we can do is, we can tell the students through videos that an allopathic doctor gives medications based on these criteria, and a homeopathic doctor more or less depends on natural remedies. So by these ways we can differentiate between this important topic. So now moving on, what happens in the chapter is that the doctor is sitting, the writer is sitting, and he is dreaming about something, and suddenly he saw the mirror. A mirror was placed in his study room or his living room, and suddenly what he sees is that there is a reflection. At first he was not interested, but suddenly he went into a shock. He was shocked. Why? Because he saw a very strange reflection in the mirror, and that reflection was not of a human, or not was himself. The reflection was of a snake, and it is a very natural phenomena or natural reaction of anyone if we see a snake, and naturally that reaction was of that writer also. He became very scared on seeing the snake, and this chapter also deals about this thing only, that how he encountered the snake and how his life was saved. So moving on, in the first paragraph, the writer talks about that how he was his room was very old fashioned. He had just graduated out of the MBBS. He was just a starting doctor, so he did not have much money, but yes, he had a room where the room was not very tidy. It was in a very dire state, and it was summer season, so it was very hot also. So the doctor generally he did not know how to cook, so he used to order food from outside. So what happened was that it was a very dark night, and suddenly he encountered something. And what did he encounter? That the snake was there, and the electricity was also not there, so he became very scared that it was night time, and he was a doctor, so he knew that if the snake would have bitten him, he wouldn't have survived. So that thing made him even more scared. So from moving on, what we see is that the first place where he saw the snake was a gable. So now what is a gable? A gable is like a triangular, in Hindi language we say chat, wherein he saw the snake for the first time. I can show the photo also.
Okay.
This is what is known as a gable. It is a triangular structure wherein we can see on the top of this gable, it is a large structure, but in the writer's room it was a very small structure. And what he saw was that in that small structure the snake was there, and the snake was not a small snake according to the author, it was a very large snake.
Okay.
So he became even more scared. So now moving on, as soon as the writer was sitting relaxed, and as soon as he saw, he was dreaming about his future marriage, that now he has become a doctor, so he will get good girls to get marriage. Suddenly what he saw was that something was crawling on his chair, and he was amazed what was crawling it, because his chair started to move. And suddenly he was shocked when he saw that the snake was crawling up, and within few seconds the snake crawled up to the writer's hand, and he was shocked because the snake was sitting right in front of the writer. He could not do anything, because if he would have moved, the snake would have bitten him. So there he had no option just to be stable there in a state of statue, and he was then thinking that what he could do to save his life. Now moving on, the snake, as I told, that he was merely inches away, and doctor was really shocked, and there he remembered God, and the writer also tells us about in this thing that at that point he literally saw God in front of him. He saw death in front of him, because it was literally the death that he was seeing, that the snake would have bitten him at any time, and if the snake would have bitten him, he would have died. So he literally, the writer writes that he saw death at that moment. So seeing death at that moment means that the writer was so scared that he was literally seeing death, that now nothing could have saved him. Now later, when the snake was there, he made the writer realize that he had become so arrogant, that he had taken life so lightly, that he achieved many things, and he was there and he was achieving a lot of things, but what had happened was that he became arrogant of his achievements. He was arrogant, he became he became arrogant of his achievements. He was not realizing that what he had achieved was due to his hard work, and he should continue his hard work, otherwise this will be a failure. The snake coming in front of him and sitting in front of him made him realize that yes, there are things which need to be accepted, which need to be realized, that he should not be arrogant, and whatever he has achieved, he should not be proud of his achievement, and more or less one day or the other everything will remain in earth only, and he will go to God empty handed. So this thing he realized at that moment when he had an encounter with the snake. So, and at that moment he joined his hands and he prayed to God that he will never be arrogant in future ever, and he prayed to God that if God gives him one more chance, he will become a changed human, and he will never ever try to be arrogant or be over proud of his achievements. He will treat everyone equally, because before this what we had seen was that as soon as he became a doctor, he started to see everyone in his surroundings as low-lying individuals. For him, any person who was not a doctor was not an individual. So that thing he realized, that just a snake has made him realize that even though he's a doctor, but he's nothing in front of the snake. With the snake, if the snake would have bitten him, he would have been lying there like any other person.
Yes.
So life had taught him a lesson, that if he will become arrogant, if he will be too proud of his achievements, God has his ways to teach him a lesson. If God can give him some things, he can take it also. There he realized, and the mirror that was there also, the snake was there. The snake stopped for a minute. The snake realized and he stopped in front of the mirror. And it was, the writer said that it was a scenery that the snake would have seen himself or herself for the first time in the mirror. So he was gazing himself. The snake was gazing himself in the mirror. So there the writer breathed a relief of sigh, that he had some time to pray. The snake stopped there. He was just seeing himself in the mirror, that yes, there is something. The writer did not realize that why did the snake stop. But the snake stopped and he was just gazing himself, seeing himself in the mirror. And as soon as the writer prayed to God and he said that after this, I will not do anything which will harm anyone, or I will not be too over proud of myself. And that moment he realized that God listened to his prayers. The snake slid from a passage and he moved out of the house. And what happened was that as soon as the snake slid out, the writer was so scared that he did not even think of anything else. He dashed out of his house in search of his brother, of his friend, so that he could save his life. And as soon as he dashed out of his house, he went to his brother's house or his friend's house. And there what he did was that he bathed twice or thrice. He applied oil on his whole of his body to just make him realize that a snake was not there. He was so scared that he did not go to his own house for 2 days. He became so scared that he was scared even for putting a foot in his own apartment. So after 2 days, he gathered some strength and he realized that yes, I have to go to my home. And as soon as he went to his home with his brother, what he realized was that because he was so scared, he dashed out of his home and he forgot to lock his home. So he forgot to lock his home, a thief would have come and the thief had stolen everything from his house.
Yes.
So nothing was left in his house, just one vest was left. That was also a dirty vest. The writer also laughed that this was God's way of punishing him. The God did not take his life, but the God punished him for being arrogant and too proud of his achievements, that God took away all the things which he had bought. So now he had nothing left with him. Everything was stolen by the thief. Then the writer realized that yes, everything is materialistic in this world and only humanistic behavior will do good to you. Yes. And that is why the writer also says in the end, when somebody asks him that did he see the snake again? So the writer said, no, I did not see the snake again, but the snake taught me a lesson for the life, that we should never be too proud of our achievements and we should never be too thankless to God. Everything what we have got is from God. We should be thankful to him and we should always be appreciative to the fact that God has given us something which he has not given to others. That thing he realized at that point when he had a straightforward fight with the snake. Not a fight, but an encounter with the snake, which would have taken his life also. But that thing made him realize that yes, from now onwards, I will not be too proud of myself, and whatever achievement I will have, I will accept it and I will be thankful to God.
Yes, it was a very nice, interesting story with a very good message. So, how will you explain the meaning of this chapter in an inclusive classroom, sir?
Yes, see, because this chapter is having a lot of diverse meanings. But the main meaning that is coming out of this chapter is to not to be proud of ourselves, not to become arrogant. So the students need to be taught this in a very detailed manner. We should show them, the teacher can show them motivational videos in the classrooms, and they should show them, they should tell them stories of kings who were too proud of themselves and how it became the cause of their decline. And that way the teacher can teach the students to not be proud of themselves and to be thankful of what they have achieved.
Okay, so the story has a very good moral. So how can we explain this moral to our in inclusive classroom to our special needy students?
Yes, see, because the moral in this story deals about not to be too arrogant, too proud of our achievements. So to teach this thing to the student becomes a little difficult, because at one time we try to motivate students to tell them that yes, it is your achievement, you should be proud of your achievements, and now we have to teach them not to be over proud. So there is a very thin line, and the teacher should be very careful while explaining this, and the teacher should have a detailed conversation with the students to tell them the difference, and detailed classes will be required. The teacher should tell the student that yes, this is the way we should go about and how this way we will achieve it.
Yes, the word kerosene lamp is mentioned in this chapter. It is not used nowadays. How can we make them understand to our students?
Yes, see, kerosene lamp is a thing which was used in earlier times. Since this story is a story of a very early time, that is why the kerosene lamp was used, because electricity was not there. So what we can do is we can use pictures like I have also used. This is a kerosene lamp. So what the teacher can do in a classroom is that the teacher can show them the photo of a kerosene lamp, and by showing them this photo, the students will realize that yes, this is how a kerosene lamp used to look like.
Okay.
And what we in education also we follow is seeing by doing. That is, the students learn better when they see something. So when they will see a photo of a kerosene lamp, they will realize that yes, this is what a kerosene lamp looked like. And it will be even better if the teacher is able to bring a real life kerosene lamp.
Yes, sir. So what significance does the mirror hold in the chapter? How can we explain this in our inclusive classroom, sir?
Yes, in the beginning also I told that the mirror holds a very signified message in the story. The message from the mirror that the writer wants to tell us is that we should see ourselves in the mirror, that our reflection in the mirror is what we are. We should not be over proud of ourselves. And the writer also tries to tell us that if we are having a feeling of arrogance, that yes, I have achieved a lot of things, so we should see ourselves in the mirror and realize that it is just my achievement and I have not achieved anything that is above God.
This story also deal with all the emotion which the writer was thinking. Huh? So there is a term gabble. How can we explain this in inclusive classrooms?
See, while I was teaching also, I showed the photo of the gable. So likewise, we can show the photo of the gable and teach the students that yes, this is a gable and this is where the snake was coiling.
Okay. And there is also a term called taken with and death lurked. How can we explain these terms?
Yes, see, these two terms hold very important significance. Taken with means that the author was so scared that his attention was taken away. Now taken away means that his attention was towards the goal, that he should not be arrogant. And the second one, can you please repeat the second?
The second is death lurked.
Death lurked means that that something which is coming slowly. So now death is slow means that the snake was there. So the writer could see that coming to him slowly.
So how did the writer feel after getting saved from the cobra, sir?
Yes, the writer was very relieved, and when he was relieved, he also felt that yes, after this he should not be arrogant and he should not be over proud of himself, because God and nature has their own ways to make a human realize that they are above nothing.
There is also the term coiling of snake. So how you will explain this term, sir, to our students?
Coiling of snake is a very new term, and to teach that term, what we can do is we can use this picture. As in this picture, we can see the snake is sitting in a position. This position is known as coiling, in which the snake sits. So we can show this photo to the students, and then we can point out that yes, the position in which the snake is sitting, the rounds which are coming around the snake are known as coils. Or we can also use spring. The spring is in a shape which is in a coil. So that way we can easily clear the concept of the child.
Okay, sir. Now it's time for the keywords, and the keywords are meager, bachelor, tremble. Now it's time for the homework, sir, and the modified homework.
Yes. See, for the homework, it is there was a question in the back exercise using some of the expressions in the chapter. Talk about the incident when you were scared. So it is a question in the chapter wherein it is given that using some of the expressions which were in the chapter, you have to describe your experience to a friend. So now how we can modify this question is, we can modify this in this way that we can give them it in a form of an informal letter. On how we can do is we can give them the students the format, and the students will fill in the blanks. And by filling the blanks, the students will slowly realize the format also, and they will also know how to write the letter also.
Now we will tell our students how to send their work. So dear students, you can write in this format name of the students, you can mention your class, the school name and the address, and the expert name or your teacher name, and you can also mention the date of today's session, and the photograph, it's optional. You can write in this format, and you can mail it on dth.class9@ciet.nic.in. So ये था the snake and the mirror. So sir, this was very beautiful story with a beautiful meaning and very strong moral, and you explained very well to our students and learners. So thank you so much sir.
Thank you ma'am.
Thank you. नमस्कार सर, धन्यवाद. So dear students and learners, हम आज कक्षा 9 के सभी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए लेकर आए थे इंग्लिश का चैप्टर, जिसमें हमने बात करी द स्नेक एंड द मिरर के बारे में, और ये बहुत ही खूबसूरत कहानी है जिसमें बहुत ही मॉरल बहुत ही खूबसूरत है, जिसमें काफ़ी कुछ बताया गया है. आपको उम्मीद है कि आपको ये समझ में आया होगा, और हमारे जो एक्सपर्ट उन्होंने बहुत ही बेहतरीन तरीके से इसे समझाने की कोशिश की, तो उनका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. और मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी हमारी आज की साइन लैंग्वेज इंटरप्रेटर दीपाली भूषण जी का भी. धन्यवाद दीपाली जी. सो डियर स्टूडेंट्स एंड लर्नर्स, आज का सत्र हम यहीं समाप्त करते हैं, लेकिन अभी और भी सत्र हमारे हैं, बहुत सारे सेशंस हैं, और जुड़े रहिए इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए, एजुकेशनल और इन्फॉर्मेटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए आप CIET NCERT के इस लाइव इंटरेक्टिव सत्र से. तो हमें दीजिए इजाज़त. नमस्कार.